Hi, Gangapriya. Great to connect. As you already set the context, I'll jump into the first question right away. As a former HR leader, now with the larger responsibilities, how do you look at the current challenges at work?
Okay, thank you so much, Subhash. Nice to be here and participate in this podcast. I think every role comes with its own set of opportunities and challenges. So I really, even my present role, challenges and opportunities. So that's really how I would see it. Let me start off by saying that I took on this role pretty much at the start of the pandemic. And so my experience of this role has also been entirely through the pandemic. And I don't need to emphasize what a challenge this pandemic has been. So I would sort of say that, just dealing with the pandemic, and particularly from a business perspective, how do we ensure that our services business continues uninterrupted while our employees' health and safety is also sort of taken care of, because our employees are falling sick and our business needs to continue. So I think the biggest challenge has been to ensure that, when the pandemic has been raging in the outside world, how is it that we can keep our services going? And how do we ensure that our employees are well protected, they are safe, they stay healthy? And how are we supporting them so that they can deal with whatever challenges that they have as they continue to work and deliver on their goals? So I would say that that's been one of the biggest. We've not gotten to work team members face to face. Though there is a team, all of my interactions with the team as a head of the organization has been entirely virtual. So while there are things that we have been able to accomplish, and I must say it's thanks to the support that I've received from every member of the team, and we have had to sort of deal with a different manner of interacting. And I would say that would be the second challenge. So it's not been easy to transition from working face to face and learning to work virtually and continuing to work virtually for a long period of time. So I think that is the second thing that I would say. And lastly is, when you move from one role in an organization to another, it's very important that you make the transition very clear. Because, as a person who used to handle HR, there is a tendency to sort of get more involved in HR matters. And therefore, I will not be giving space to my successor in the HR role. And I'm very conscious about it. It's something that I have a skill set for, I have the capability for, I have the background for. So there is a possibility that I could spend a lot of my time on HR and focus a lot on HR. And I have to be conscious that I'm not stepping on the toes of my successor. So I would say these are the three major things that have been challenges for me.
Thanks for sharing. So if you look at these three challenges, and as you said, the transition almost coincided with the onset of pandemic. What in your reflecting back, what would be your biggest learning?
So I think the biggest challenge is, how do we ensure operations and continue to provide our services in an uninterrupted fashion while keeping our employees safe and healthy. That's one. So in all of this, I've noticed that, the biggest learning has been the power of the team and the capability of the individual. If you give the team the empowerment, if you give them the tools that are required for them to function, if you hold employees accountable for the outcomes that they are expected to deliver. I don't think there is anything that you cannot achieve, and much of it can be achieved quite easily as well. So I think it's really that when the team comes together and the individual feels responsible for the delivery of their work, I think a lot can be achieved. So I would say this has perhaps been the biggest challenge, learning from this entire last 18 months.
So if you convert these challenges to learning, and this, if you have to give advice to your leaders in different verticals, you handle a big, fairly large team. What would be that one piece of professional advice that you would give to them?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm in a position to give advice, but I can tell you that from my experience, the things that I would tell anybody is that, first of all, remind yourself often that you cannot really address and solve problems on your own.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, it really takes a team to deliver. And particularly with the pandemic, where we were all learning how to deal with it for the first time. Yeah, it was even more important to take points of view, ideas, suggestions, feedback, and get the teams to work based on that. So I would say that is the first thing. It really, you can take help, you need to take help, and that's perhaps the way that you would be able to solve a lot of the problems. You cannot shoulder the responsibility for finding solutions to all problems all by yourself. Yes, so, and you cannot. I mean, I would think that is a little impractical to do that. The second thing is a repeat of the earlier point. It really takes a team. Seek help, listen to others' points of views, suggestions, ideas, empower leaders and managers and employees, and see how they will rally around to helping you solve a problem. So I think that's the second thing, that if you empower people, if you give them clear boundaries within which they have to operate, you give them the tools and the resources that they need to deliver, I think it's pretty much, you can put them on autopilot, I would say, and they will go and deliver. And I would say also that as a leader, it's very important to sort of learn from every opportunity, because you need to stay on top of the game. You can rely on the team, you can empower the team, you can say that you can't solve all the problems all by yourself, but the fact is that you need to be on top of the game. You need to learn from all opportunities, you need to learn from all situations, and you also need to have a point of view for any situation, for any issue. So I think these would be the three things. You cannot sort of rely entirely on the team and individuals. You have to be really on top of the game as well.
So you're talking about the power of team, autopilot, despite the challenge of a pandemic once in a lifetime.
Oh, yes.
That is a possibility. That's phenomenal.
Yes.
And also the need to continue to learn, have a voice of your own, a clarity.
Yes, absolutely.
Which takes me to the relevance of organizational culture. I don't think you can't move from command control, individual superman, superwoman performance to something that is inherent in a culture. So what are your views on organization culture playing an important role in these kind of situations from your point of view?
Yeah, and I think the crisis has taught us perhaps how important the culture is in dealing with it, because in all situations, we are taught that values and principles will guide your actions. But I also believe that in a crisis situation like the pandemic, a once in a lifetime, once in a century kind of a thing, it's really only values and principles that can really give direction to the actions that you will take. So I think that's been a very important learning. The other thing is that, if you keep your values and guidelines and principles front and center, you also find that you get a lot of answers to questions that are troubling questions. So I would say that, several of the difficult questions are answered when you use your principles. I'll just give you an example. My own organization, there are certain behaviors that we are expected to sort of exhibit. For instance, take care for each other or put people first. Now, in a pandemic-like situation, I just need to sort of look back at these two principles, and I perhaps know what I need to do. Yeah, and therefore it becomes a lot easier for us to initiate any kind of action that will be in line with the principle of taking care of each other, yeah, and putting people first. Yeah, and this is not about being nice to each other and all of that, because we also have another principle, which is like we need to compete like a challenger.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's not that we are doing all of this with little care for the business.
Sure.
Yeah, and without being competitive. So if I put some of these principles together, I know what are the basis on which I need to take actions, plus what are the boundaries within which I have to stay.
Mhm.
And so therefore, I think it becomes much easier to move forward with actions. And through the last, I would say at least 12 months, I've noticed that it's really been easy for us to take actions, and we have taken several initiatives in the company, all within a short period of time, primarily driven by the fact that we had these principles to guide us, and everybody understands it in the same way. Yeah, everyone responds to it in a particular way. Yeah, and it's sort of been driven in the organization, and people like even Bill Ford role modeling it. Yeah, so all of these things, where it really helps to sort of emphasize and re-emphasize the value of some of these basic principles within the organization and how importantly the company takes them. So I would say that that would be the one thing that I would say has been a key takeaway, and how culture has really driven us to deal with this challenge in a very aligned way.
So, you also work outside the organization in the HR role, within the HR fraternity and beyond. Do you think people have really come into the focus at the core of organization activity, or are we still away from it? People first, has it arrived truly, or are we still?
Yeah. So I think it's an interesting question, and I would say, several people who watch the HR space have really said that the pandemic has actually been a trigger event for putting HR in a driver's seat within an organization. Yeah, and it also has shifted the focus of several organizations towards people. Yeah, because the ones that are most impacted in all of this are the people. And in several organizations have actually put people first while they had to shut down businesses and shut down plants and things like that. And all that was for the sake of putting people first and taking care of their health and safety. So I would say in a lot of ways, perhaps we have got to a place where we believe that, putting employees first, putting people first has really come alive and had to come alive in a situation like this. Whether it will stay that way is something that we'll have to watch for. But, let me also tell you, I noticed through the last 18 months that something has changed in the employee-employer relationship. If I may use the term, I think it's a lot more balanced now. Yeah, and I think the odds are sort of evenly matched between the employee and the employer. And this is particularly so when it comes to how work is delivered. And let me just take a step back. Prior to the pandemic, a lot of organizations had a command and control, direction-based approach to dealing with employees. You tell employees what to do. Yeah, I think during this work from home situation, a lot of employees have been told just do it, And really, there's no way to monitor. We need to see the outcomes. Yeah, we think you are responsible, and therefore you'll be accountable for what you need to do. Yeah, and therefore I think it's also empowered employees. Yeah, and taken away some of that controlling aspect that was there in the manager's job. So, and that's why I say, I think the employee-employer relationship has become a little more balanced with this work from home situation. Yeah, and that also is going to be difficult to manage. It'll require a different set of skills. Managers will have to reinvent themselves. And I think that's really where coaching comes into play, because, you know, I don't think it's going to be a situation where manager gives directions. I think managers and employees will have to have conversations. Yeah, and it'll be coaching kind of conversations that managers and employees will have, because there is a balance in terms of in the relationship where they are equally pitted in a sense. Yeah, and therefore I think it is these conversations that will help managers to get the best out of their employees. And employees themselves will feel a lot more empowered to be able to do the kind of things that they're required to do so that they can achieve their goals. This is my view. I'm just hoping that's really how it will pan out. And therefore, I think it's something that we need to watch and see.
Sure. I strongly feel too that coaching is more necessity now. A coaching approach to leadership by all leaders would be more relevant now than perhaps earlier. One final question.
And Subhash, a lot of our investments are going to be in terms of reorienting our managers to this new way of how they need to deal with their employees. We're already spending time and resources to make sure that, you know, they have the ability to deal with the situation, whether it's through coaching capabilities, through sort of being empathetic about their employees. Taking care of the whole self of the employee, not just the work.
Yes.
So these are all things that have come in over the last few months. And there is a lot more emphasis with the people leaders or managers that they need to change their styles so that some of these new ways of dealing with employees and in the workplace could be addressed. And, you know, as we move into a hybrid model, it's going to be even more difficult because there are more levers that are available and that need to be managed. So therefore, you know, dealing with ambiguity, dealing with uncertainty, dealing with a day-to-day difference in the work patterns, all of that are something that managers will have to learn.
And I also feel the emotional impact of the pandemic is yet to come, and how prepared we are. I don't think we are still woken up to that realm of possibility. Yeah. One final question. I know you are somebody who's made the transition from an HR role to a business role. What advice would you give to young HR leaders out there that, you know, what they should do and be to become a business leader?
So, you know, first of all, I think most HR people think that the business role is beyond them. And I would say that applied to me as well. So when my boss asked me if I would be interested to take a role, I had so many doubts and apprehensions about taking that role. So whereas, you know, if you ask a finance person or a sales and marketing person, perhaps there is no hesitation. So, so I think first is the mindset itself that, you know, they need to believe that an HR person also can be a business leader. So that is first thing. The second is that, you know, I also find that HR folks, at least many that I have known, really don't either spend time or focus on understanding business. It's very important that you speak the language of business for you to even be in contention. Yeah, and that's very important. You know, you need to know what your organization produces, what services they have, what are some of the variables that impact how we deliver our work. So you need to understand business. What is the impact of human beings? How can they make a difference? Yeah, what are the levers that you have to sort of improve profitability, revenues, all of that. So you need to understand the, I'm not saying you need to understand the nitty-gritties of it, but you need to understand how your business runs and what are some of the principles that go behind running your kind of business. So that is the other thing that I would say. In fact, the third and most important thing is that, we many times think that business success is really about financial numbers, market share. A lot of it has to do with employees feeling motivated, engaged, productive. Yeah, and who can do this better than HR folks? Yeah, and being a leader with HR skills perhaps is going to be, it has been, and it's definitely going to be one of the biggest assets that any company can have in the choice of the leader. Because the new way of dealing with business, with employees, with teams requires the softer aspects, which I think a lot of HR folks do come with. So I would say these are, in my mind, a few things that HR professionals need to keep in mind if they intend to make that transition to playing the business role.
Sure. So thanks, Gangapriya, for taking time to have this short chat. We look forward to more such interactions in the future. You stay safe and take care.
Yeah, thank you, Subhash. Thank you so much for this opportunity and wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.